But first, Robert Costa and Aaron Navarro join us with the latest on the race from the White House. Robert, let's start with you. We know Donald Trump was pledging an economic-focused speech today. How much of the speech was focused on the economy?
Great to be with you, Scott, from here in battleground Georgia. Former President Trump came here for the first time in about 2 months because this remains a contest that's up in the air based on my conversations with strategists and advisors to both candidates. And you see former President Trump talking about his trade message today a few miles north to the east in Savannah, Georgia. And you have him trying to underscore to the working voters in Georgia and elsewhere that his policies on trade, calling for more tariffs, are going to protect workers. And this comes as Vice President Kamala Harris is making her own overtures to working voters in Georgia and elsewhere, trying to lock arms with labor, whether it's the UAW or others.
Well, if he's pledging to stay focused on issues, if his campaign wants him to stay focused on issues, Bob, how focused did he seem today? Did he deviate? Did he dovetail into other topics?
As usual, Scott, he definitely dovetailed. He went into some tangential issues, expressed some grievances about how the campaign has been run, about how Vice President Harris is proceeding with her own bid. And you have former President Trump at this point deciding not to participate in another campaign debate. And that has led to this crossroads in this race where there's really no other juncture on the horizon that's going to bring Harris and Trump together. And so Trump, I'm told by some of his confidants, is trying to reset his campaign in a way by going into this final stretch, by going back to the core issues of the economy, immigration, and trade, and casting himself as the outside candidate. And there's a belief in Trump's inner circle that if he's just himself on the trail, and as you say, he's going to sometimes talk about the economy, but sometimes talk about political attacks against Vice President Harris, that if Trump is just Trump, he can maybe find that sweet spot politically just like he did in October 2016. But there are skeptics in the Republican Party. They want to see Trump focus on Harris, focus on the economy, not talk about her in any sort of personal way.
Aaron, let's switch over to you. You're covering a Republicans for Harris-Walz event in Pennsylvania today. What are you hearing at the event? What are the voters saying about it?
Yeah, Scott, good to be with you. I am just across the street from the building that hosted the event where a slate of never-Trumpers, former Congress members Robert Costa, Jim Greenwood, as well as Joe Walsh, who primaried Trump in 2020, talked and laid out the stakes to these moderate Republican and some Democrats I've found in the room, voters, about why they think Trump is unfit for office. And I talked to a Republican voter who's voting for Harris and a Republican voter who's still undecided what they think about the Harris campaign making outreaches to Republican voters. Here's what they had to say. This is, like a Republicans for Harris event. What do you make of the Harris campaign trying to be a bit more bipartisan in their approach?
I like that if they're genuine about it and listening to both sides and hearing what the people really want. And there's a lot of really important issues out there.
You know, I've never been a part of something like this where the opposite parties coming in and saying, yeah, man, we're gonna do a little event for you. We're going to make you feel welcome. We're going to hear you out. And I'm really happy that the Harris campaign is reaching out to Republicans like myself.
Now, it's still a bit of an uphill battle here in Lancaster County. Biden lost by double digits. On the way here, there were more Trump-Vance signs than Harris-Walz signs. But the Harris campaign does believe that shaving off the margins in counties like this could help them win the state and rebuild and maybe expand the coalition Biden saw in 2020.
And we know she goes to Pittsburgh tomorrow, which has been a focus, at least where her positioning has been over the past few weeks. What is she set to talk about with these economic proposals she's pledging?
Yeah, she's been in Pennsylvania maybe once a week the past month. In Pittsburgh, she's expected to lay out more of her economic plans. Now, so far, we have heard her plans for affordable housing, small businesses, as well as a child tax credit, expanding that. But further details on what she would do to lower grocery prices is something that voters want to hear more about, and we're expected to get more expansive details tomorrow in Pittsburgh.
Aaron, can you give us a sense of how saturated the airwaves are in that part of Pennsylvania, or any part of Pennsylvania you've been in the last few weeks?
It's either a Harris ad, a Trump ad, a McCormick ad, or a Casey ad. And that's been the case since about a month and a half ago when I was tracking Governor Josh Shapiro as he was a potential running mate for Harris. So certainly the airwaves are littered with campaign ads because they know this is a crucial state for both camps to win this November.
Yeah, I was talking with the operator of a radio station in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, who says if we had more airtime to give, we'd be able to sell it in a minute. Bob, let me go back to you. We know that there's reporting that Vice President Harris is considering a trip to the southern border as early as Friday. What does that say to you, and how is she navigating this issue of border security?
She knows, based on my conversations with her allies, that former President Trump is going to have this drumbeat on immigration and border security between now and Election Day. And by going down to the border, it gives her an opportunity to counter Trump's messaging, because she might not have that opportunity on a debate stage in the coming weeks. So you see her trying to take this issue head on, because she also knows, I'm told, that on social media, Republicans and Trump allies are constantly referring to her as the border czar. Democrats always say she was asked by President Biden to work on root causes of migration to the United States, but that specificity does not always come across in social media posts by some Republicans. And she knows, though, that that message from GOP critics persists. And so by going to the border, she's trying to come to the issue of the border and immigration on her own terms in this closing stretch. And it is something that some Democrats feel there's a vulnerability on politically, even if they feel the facts are in their favor or her arguments are fine, that they want to make sure that Trump isn't out there each and every day on his own terms defining the race on that front.
Robert Costa's in Georgia, Aaron Navarro in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which all three of us know is just beautiful this time of year. Good reporting, both of you. Thank you very much. And this quick programming note, you can join us here on CBS News 24/7 early on October 1st, 4 p.m. Eastern, for our special Vice Presidential Debate edition of America Decides. That is live in New York City before CBS News moderates the debate and brings you coverage all night long.